In a general regime prison, there is a separate block where disabled criminals are held. They are no different from regular inmates, except that they spend their lives in wheelchairs. From the very first frames, we see how, in the common hall, they approach the murderer Rupasov, one of the wheelchair users, from behind, throw a cloak over his eyes and hold his head down. At the same time, his accomplice, with his paralyzed legs, removes his sneakers. The confrontation leads nowhere, and the inmate simply continues serving his sentence. Eventually, the day of his release arrives. Next, we are introduced to a special boarding school where two friends, Zoe and Barbara, live. Zoe uses a wheelchair, while Barbara can walk on his own, although with great difficulty. The boys are bored out of their minds with nothing to do. One day, Barbara brings a fire extinguisher into their room, at least some kind of entertainment. In the backyard of the boarding school, they spray it into the air, laughing, until another resident approaches them in his wheelchair. Rupov demands they return the extinguisher. He explains that he has pulled enough bodies out of fires to know how important it is that extinguishers remain in their proper place. To emphasize his point, he slaps Zoe across the face. Although Zoe immediately tries to fight back, the man easily flips him and his wheelchair onto the ground before calmly walking away. However, he soon returns and helps the boy back onto his wheels. After that, he invites the boys to a nightclub, treats them to drinks, and suggests they start earning money to get at least some cash. In the morning, Zoe's mother takes him to the doctor for another checkup. His spine is in terrible condition, and expensive surgery is required. However, money is no longer an issue. The boy's mother has contacted her ex-husband, who is willing to cover all medical expenses to help his son. During the appointment, Zoe refuses the surgery, not wanting to accept money from the man who abandoned him and his mother, but she insists. After the hospital visit, Zoe returns to his room at the boarding school. The next day, Rupasov receives an order for his next target. He takes the boys with him but leaves them at a local cafe while he goes to a designated meeting point. The boys grow bored and, after buying some food, decide to visit their mentor and bring him lunch, unaware of what he is truly involved in. They arrive at an empty lot and stop nearby just as a black car pulls up. For thugs step out and deliver bad news about a canceled deal, which enrages the older man. He pulls out a knife and stabs one of them in the leg. The injured man shows no reaction. He feels no pain below the waist. In response, he pulls out a gun and shoots all 4 attackers on the spot. Afterward, he calmly returns to the boys, pressing the barrel of his gun to Zoe's temple, warning him to stay silent. Later, we see a doctor stitching up the wound in the disabled man's leg. Another gangster confrontation follows involving Rupasov's client, who is walking his Rottweilers. Suddenly, a car with armed men pulls up and opens fire. The wounded man takes cover behind a trash can and orders his dogs to attack. The dogs charge at the attackers. One is shot, but the others tear the gang apart. Afterward, the client meets Rupasov to pay for the completed job and places a new order for a lawyer who is threatening his competitor. The disabled hitman accepts the assignment for the right price. Later, we see another day at the boarding school. During class, Rupov struggles to take even a single step when Zoe approaches him in his wheelchair. He tries again to bring up working together as hitmen. The man immediately rejects him and tells him to forget about their acquaintance. Still, the boys don't give up. Day after day, they draw comics featuring themselves and their new friend, Rupas. Meanwhile, Zoe's mother continues trying to convince her son to accept help from his father, afraid she won't be able to support him much longer. But he refuses, determined to pay for the surgery himself. Their struggles continue. Their comic is rejected from a competition, and Barbara wastes their last coins on a vending machine, only managing to get dry pretzels while both of them remain thirsty. Meanwhile, Rupasov receives a gun from his client as the time for the job approaches. His plan is to track the lawyer in a public square while he has breakfast at a street cafe. No one would suspect a disabled man feeding pigeons in a wheelchair. When the moment comes, Rupasov shoots the target and kills him instantly. He then calmly leaves the scene with the boys. Everything goes as planned, until the client sees everything from his car. He realizes the disabled hitman was not acting alone, but with young assistants. This violates a crucial rule between them. No one is ever supposed to know what the man in the wheelchair is involved in. Later at the center during class, Rupas advises Zoe to accept the surgery. He explains they will be paid in cash for the job, and soon they will be able to relax and enjoy life. However, the client refuses to pay until Rupasov eliminates his partner. There is no negotiation, either he does it or the client will deal with the boys himself. With no choice left, the hitman invites his friends to go fishing. They head out and settle on a high riverbank. During the fishing trip, Barbara drives everyone crazy with constant whining and complaints about his life. Eventually, Rupasov approaches him in his wheelchair and pushes him into the water. Zoe rushes in to help, since his friend can't swim, but the hitman pushes him in as well, then simply watches as both boys struggle to survive. When they disappear beneath the surface, he turns and walks back toward the car. But suddenly, he hears the sound of a struggle behind him. Unable to ignore it, the disabled man rushes back to the shore and, without hesitation, throws himself into the water along with his wheelchair. Later, all three of them are seen on the shore, saved by a local fisherman. Rupasov admits it was just a bad joke. That night, by the campfire, he realizes the client will not be pleased with what happened. So he gives Zoe a gun for self-defense just in case. The next day, the boys attend a party. The familiar therapist girls, who usually give them foot massages at the boarding school during the week, join them, unconcerned about their disabilities, and everyone has a great time. The party ends with a plan. Rupas decides he will stand on his own 2 feet and wave to the girl he has always loved, a nurse from the boarding school. She used to talk to him, but now she is getting married, something he could not accept. The girls fit special braces onto his legs so he can stand. The braces are hidden under his pants, invisible from the outside. They bring him to the entrance of the boarding school and leave him there to meet her. But the plan falls apart when he discovers she is not working that day. Later, the hitman meets the client and reports that his partners are dead, claiming he drowned them. In return, he receives a new assignment. He has already taken care of the competitor's lawyer. Now it is time for the competitor himself, who is protected by only 3 or 4 guards in a house on a hill. Everything seems to go according to plan. However, that evening, the client takes a walk near the boarding school and sees the supposedly dead partners alive on the porch. The next morning, Rupasov arrives at the hill with Zoe and Barbara. He tells them to stay in the car while he approaches the house alone. At the gate, he claims he has a message from the owner's brother, and they let him in. Even on the porch, the owner becomes suspicious and begins questioning him. Inside, he directly confronts Rupasov and demands the truth, who he really is and why he is there. In response, the hitman pulls out a gun and kills the owner and all of his bodyguards. After that, he makes his way to the underground garage, but the exit gates are locked. He calls his accomplices and tells them to ram the gates with their car. But at that moment, police sirens are heard in the distance. There is almost no time left. He asks Zoe to delay the police. The boy barely manages to exit the car, assemble his wheelchair, and move toward them. Meanwhile, Barbara crashes through the gates, and the hitman escapes in the vehicle. Zoe misleads the police in the opposite direction, allowing them to get away. That evening, Rupasov decides to cut ties with his partners completely. He gives them their share and says they will never see each other again. The next morning, Rupas is in the client's car. The client drives him to a remote, abandoned factory, where a noose hangs from the ceiling. He says he was betrayed, that the partners are still alive, and that instead of payment, the hitman must make a choice. Without hesitation, he places the noose around Rupasov's neck and kicks the wheelchair away. He does not wait to watch him die, he simply leaves. Slowly suffocating, Rupasov tries to reach his wheelchair but cannot. With his last strength, he manages to stand, break free from the rope, and collapse to the ground, gasping for air. That night, he calls his friends and tells them everything. He warns them the boarding school is no longer safe. The only way to survive is to take down the client. Knowing the client walks his dogs daily, they secretly attach a tracking device to his car to find his home. On the day of Zoe's friend's wedding, Rupasov and Zoe attend the ceremony. Meanwhile, Barbara and the others install the tracker under the client's car. Rupasov gets drunk at the wedding and confesses his love to the bride on stage. Her fiancé and friends drag him outside and begin beating him, but Zoe suddenly appears and stops them by pulling a gun. Later, Rupasov and Zoe sit in the car, apologize to the bride, and leave the wedding. The next morning, the disabled friends are already observing the client's house through binoculars, having tracked it down using the phone signal. That evening, when the client returns from his walk, he finds 2 wheelchair users waiting for him. Rupasov points to a fire extinguisher on the table, reminding him of their earlier encounter. The client warns him he will not be able to kill all 3 dogs and should not even try to draw his weapon. But instead of shooting the dogs, Rupasov shoots the fire extinguisher. The explosion scares the dogs into running outside. The client pulls a knife and tries to handle the situation himself, managing to stab Rupasov several times, until Zoe shoots him dead. After saying goodbye to his fallen friend, Zoe leaves the house and takes the money from the safe that was meant for them. Now he finally has enough for his surgery. He also sends his comics to his father, Rupasov, naming one of the main characters after him. At the same time, Zoe is wheeled into the operating room. For months later, Zoe is no longer facing a short life expectancy. He will now live to old age. Their comic still did not win the competition, but it caught the attention of a girl who believes it deserves to be published. Zoe and Barbara are happy. Life goes on. It is not easy, but it goes on.